The Spotlight, shining a light on podcasts and videos that have caught our attention.
Hi and welcome to The Spotlight. I'm Jen Spiker and today I have another podcast to share with you. Bigger Questions is a production of City Bible Forum and is heard on Vision every weekend and on demand in the Vision app. The program host, Robert Martin, loves asking life's big questions and discussing them with his guests. In this recent episode, Robert was joined by Stewart, who works with City Bible Forum and is an author, speaker and former Anglican Bishop. Robert asked Al, is the death of Christianity in Australia a good thing?
The Spotlight with Jen Spiker.
So, Al, there was a time, not so long ago, here in Australia where Christian hymns and Christian prayers were an accepted part of parliamentary practice, and the Christian religion was an integral and fundamental part of the social order. So how did it get so influential?
Well, I suppose it depends how, if you go back far enough. If you're looking for the beginning, Constantine, the Roman emperor, as he's facing great battle to actually become emperor in about 312, I think it was, has a dream where he sees the Christian symbols, or the Greek letters chi and rho, and he's told in this dream, if you under these symbols you will conquer.
Yeah.
So he paints the symbols on the shields of his soldiers, wins the victory, and then decides that he'll become a Christian.
Okay.
And really, you could trace it almost back to there, where Constantine links Christianity and the Roman state. I mean, that's the beginning of the influence of Christianity within. How can I put it? Sorry,
the political state.
The political influence.
Right.
Up until then, Christianity had been a grassroots viral movement.
Right.
And things began to change. Well, certainly at the, if you like, the political level, it changed definitely with Constantine.
Yeah.
And in the coming centuries, as the Roman Empire declined, local bishops became more and more important.
Right.
So Larry Siddentop, who has written a book, Inventing the Individual, he talks about kind of the decline of the Roman Empire saw the Christian leaders, the bishops, become more and more important. Mm-hmm. And then...
So what did this mean then for society?
Well, over time, it's interesting to watch. Over time, the elites, particularly in the Western Europe, became Christians. Not necessarily, forgive the expression, not necessarily the common people, but more and more of the elites. And then over the centuries, Christianity began, gain more and more, or particularly, if you like, the Roman Catholic Church, gathered more and more political power.
Yeah.
And the state and the church were more and more entwined. I would say the last few centuries, what we've seen in the Western world is the Christian church be like the chaplain to the state. Mm-hmm. And so it was just assumed that Christianity was the default religion of everyone.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where you see it today, and it's an anachronism, is Anzac Day service. So if you go to the Veteran Affairs website, there are rules about what has to happen in an Anzac dawn service. There has to be Christian hymns, Christian Bible readings, and Christian prayers. Now, why is that? Well, it's because Anzac Day is a kind of a sacred thing. You can't change it. And Anzac Day stayed frozen, whereas the rest of society has moved on over the last 90, 100 years.
Yeah.
Time warp thing when you go to a dawn service now.
Yeah.
So it really has changed. The assumption that the Christian church is the chaplain to the state, I think it's gone. It's nostalgia.
So that was kind of called, was that called Christendom or something, was it? The sort of the age? What is
Christendom is the idea that the state looks, that the state endorses Christianity as the default religion of the nation.
Right, yeah. And so what did this Christendom bring then to the world?
Well, in the Western world, I think you can make an argument. There's all sorts of good things that the Christian worldview brought, like the rise of science, modern medicine, the value of the individual, and so human rights, the rule of law, the growth of capitalism, the creation of wealth. All of those things, I think you can make a case that certainly Christianity was a vital part of those developments.
Yeah.
Now, part of the irony is, I think, Christianity carries... Let me say this the right way. Christianity carries almost the seeds of its own demise, in that the Christian worldview brings liberty, prosperity, wealth, etc. And given human nature, the more wealthy we become, the less we feel like we need God. It's kind of an ironic spiral almost.
Yeah. So things have changed, though, now in Australia, because Christianity in Australia is on the decline. Some would even suggest it's dying. So in 2017, journalist Greg Sheridan wrote a piece in The Australian asking, "Is God dead?" The number of people attending church regularly has gone from half in our population to single-digit percentages. In the 2016 census, no religion was the largest religious status. Yes. Churches are being closed. So if Christianity is not dead yet in Australia, it seems like it's dying or it's close. So what's changed?
Well, if I could say that, I think that's true, that trend in Australia. It is different to trends in the rest of the world. So Philip Jenkins, an American academic, wrote a book, The Next Christendom, and he outlines massive growth in Christianity in, as they call it, the global south. So in South America, in Africa and in Asia, the Christian church is just booming.
Yeah.
Now, we don't hear about that in our media cycles because I'm from Sydney, and I go, dog ride surfboard at Bondi is more newsworthy than, poor person becomes Christian in Africa.
Sure, yeah.
Now, in Australia, Christianity has declined. But I'd put it, I think nominal Christianity has declined. This might be a little controversial, but...
Sure, we asked the bigger questions here.
Yeah, okay. I think the number of genuine, hand-on-heart, Jesus-loving, Bible-believing, born-again Christians in Australia today, the percentage is about the same as it's always been, a tiny percentage.
Yeah, how can you say that?
Because I think it's nominal Christianity that has declined.
What do you mean by nominal?
Okay, nominal Christianity being those who just turned up because it was what you did.
Right.
So my grandparents' generation, my dad's parents were good Presbyterians. As far as I know, they went to church because it was the right thing to do, and it was a social focus of the community. And so you turned up and saw everyone, and that's fine. But for many, many of those people, there was no real spiritual involvement, no real traction in their life.
Yeah.
You're a good moral person because you...
Went to church.
Yeah, went to church. But it's not the actual spiritual, relational, born-again thing that Jesus was on about.
Right, okay.
And so now I can talk to you about the reasons that nominal Christianity has significantly declined since the 1950s, 1960s. In fact, Roy Williams' book, Post-God Nation, Roy gives about 7 or 8 of the reasons why that's happened.
Right, yeah. And so, but has that been part of the reasons for this loss of Christendom, I suppose, or the Christian influence in the public sphere?
Yeah, I think so. People's nominal adherence to Christianity has declined. I mean, Roy gives a number of reasons. One is just plain ignorance of the Christian message. People think they know what Christianity is, and yet it's probably not. I still meet intelligent, educated Australian people who've never actually read the words of Jesus.
Right.
Never actually read the Sermon on the Mount. Almost no one could list the 10 Commandments. Another reason that Roy gives is the rise of science, or perhaps scientism is the idea that only science can give us reliable information, but that's a rabbit hole. Perhaps.
But surely that would mean that people, trusting, believing in science now were just less gullible than perhaps before.
Ooh, more educated. I think people, as one commentator said, when people stop believing in God, it's not that they believe in nothing; they'll tend to believe in anything.
Right.
Although there's also a great emptiness in our culture as I look. It's interesting to see how Anzac Day has become so much more, inverted commas, spiritual, as people are looking to fill an emptiness, a void in our national beliefs, and Anzac Day has become almost our default religion once a year. But I mean, the biggest single factor that I think that people have walked away from churches or the need or feeling for God is how incredibly wealthy we've become.
Yeah, why is that a factor?
I think our annual GDP per person is 3 times what it was in the 1950s, and it's more than 7 times what it was 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. We're just so much wealthier. And Jesus himself says, for the rich person, they are so much more likely to actually forget about God because, well, who needs God? We're living the dream now.
Mm. So if we were to rerun the opening of Parliament of Australia now, do you think that there'd still be Christian hymns? Or would perhaps somebody love to have a beer with Duncan might be a more sort of inclusive choice, perhaps?
Maybe. Although I just find it interesting, in the rules of Parliament, there's still the rule that the Speaker is to pray the Lord's Prayer on behalf of everyone present. forgive us our sins as we forgive those who trespass against us. So asking God to judge us and forgive us the way we forgive others is an interesting prayer for our politicians to pray. Well, for anyone. I'm not having a go at them, but it's a very loaded thing to pray. But it's an anachronism.
So how do you react to this change? I mean, you used to be a bishop.
Yes.
Are you sad about the lack of, or the loss of the Christian influence in the world, the lack of people attending church, the Christian influence?
Well, I am heartbroken that as a nation we're walking away from our heritage.
Surely we're moving to something better.
Interesting. Os Guinness, who's a commentator living in the States, says we're a cut flower society. So many of the good things that we have actually come from the Christian worldview worked out. You know, the value of humanity and social security and our concern for people's rights, etc. That ground, or that, if you like, that the roots of that have been cut. So I think we don't know where we're going now. Mm-hmm. And you can see that in debates. It's like we're playing tennis, but there's no baseline. What's right, what's wrong, it's all... So I'm concerned for the spiritual vacuum in Australia.
Yeah.
You know, the suicide rates and depression and so on, and it's just that it's the chickens of meaninglessness coming home to roost. Now, am I concerned or worried about Christianity, genuine Christianity in Australia? No, because I actually think the decline or the disappearance of Christendom is the severe mercy of God. There's a phrase. I think it's God's kindness. I don't know if I would choose this, but I think it's God's kindness to take it away.
Wow. Why is that?
Because when you link the Christian church to political power and you give money and prestige to the Christian church, it makes us fat and lazy, and we forget why we're here. And that's certainly what happened when Constantine poured imperial money all over the church in the 300s. Rodney Stark, in his book For the Glory of God, explains, he says, up until then, the Christianity had been a viral grassroots movement. Christian leadership was costly. They weren't well paid. There was persecution. So anyone who went into Christian leadership did it with a genuine heart and sacrificially. Well, as soon as Constantine made Christianity the imperial religion...
Becomes a good career move.
Absolutely. There was a stampede into the priesthood, he says, by the sons of the aristocracy. All of a sudden, Christianity went from modest buildings or people's homes into giant temples, and it corrupted the church overnight. Now, not all the church. There were some who, below the radar, stayed faithful, but it was a disaster. And I think today, if you link, anywhere you link power and unlimited money, etc., to Christianity, it's very bad for us. So I think that's part of the reason God's taking it away from us, so we'll actually have to be lean and hungry.
On the Spotlight, we've been listening to part of a conversation between Robert Martin and Al Stewart, asking the question, is the death of Christianity in Australia a good thing? You can hear this and more thought-provoking discussions by tapping the podcast tab in the free Vision app and searching for Bigger Questions. If you've heard a podcast or seen a video that we should feature on the Spotlight, click Contact Us at vision.org.au and share the link. I'm Jen Spiker, and I look forward to joining you next time with another podcast or video worth sharing.
For more great podcasts and videos like the one featured today, check out vision.org.au or the free Vision app.